All right, welcome to the Krypton Report. I'm your host, Tyler, and today we're going to talk about The Long Halloween Part 2. Now, if you're listening to this and you're like, well, why didn't you talk about The Long Halloween Part 1? Well, we did. It was a YouTube exclusive. So I had to bring back the boys to talk about that, and you know what? Maybe we'll throw up a Part 1 as an episode. We'll see how this month goes because life is crazy. But it's horrible to hear me talk by myself, so I brought in the backup. Would you please give a round of applause for Mr. James Cole?
What's
and
up?
And all the way from a few miles down the road, welcome Mr. Bryan Peters.
Hello, ladies.
Don't forget about me.
And that's Solomon, the boy of steel. And there's Selah, the girl of steel, hanging out, moving around, being crazy with a few more days left till school starts. So let's jump right into this, guys.
Jump in the line. Keep your volume.
So
I believe you.
The Long Halloween Part 2. How many times, go around the room real quick. How many times did you watch it, James?
I've only had a chance to watch it once because, right. I've got it on in the background right now.
I watched the first one twice. I only watched the second once.
And I'll say I've watched the second one twice. And I will say that you should watch it twice. I feel that watching it the second time, I liked it better. Not that I didn't like it. I just felt like there was more. You get more out of it, okay?
Well, sometimes when, because you and I were such students of film and comics and pop culture, I think and I know this is what I do, and James gets on me all the time about it. When I watch it for the first time, it's me studying it, and then once I'm done studying it, I'm like, okay, this is what we got. Then each time after it, I don't have to study it anymore. Like, I already know what's happening. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that's definitely why you enjoyed it more. And I need to sit down and just watch this one big movie.
And see, that's my next point. Is
right.
I can't wait to buy this and watch this one movie, because what I feel about this film is that I feel like when I started this movie, I feel like I was watching a movie, I hit pause, I went and did some stuff for like a month, then sat back down and hit unpause. I don't feel like it really started as a movie. The pacing is like we came in the middle of a movie, because we came at the beginning of like the mid-movie montage.
It was like the CW did it, Like, let's give you all this exciting stuff, and then we're just going to take a break for a couple weeks. Oh, we're back. We're back.
You know that emotional roller coaster you were on?
Yeah, screw that. It's gone.
It's gone. So, also, I want to point out for anybody who has watched it or listened to us talk about it, jump over to Batman on Film, and their podcast, they did an interview with the screenwriter, both for Part 1 and for Part 2. So it was really helpful to hear him talk about it. So yeah. So we'll keep moving forward here. The thing about the film is, it is a 13-issue book, sorry. And we have 3 hours to do it, But I feel like I don't know. Bryan, why don't you go ahead? What was your overall just thoughts? Without spoilers, just kind of thoughts.
Without spoiling, I thought part 1.
Just part 2. We're trying not to analyze.
I know.
Part 1.
I felt like the pace was off. I felt like so much stuff, especially in the beginning, so much stuff got rushed. I mean, I understand why they did rush some things, but I felt like the pace was off in this one. I felt like the outcome was okay, but I didn't feel like it was written well enough to get that emotional punch that we could have really got with the reveal and everything with Holiday. I felt this. I felt the second part just was a little bit of a mess.
All right, James, go.
The second part, it had a lot of story to tell. I think Time Jump gave it opening, kind of helped with how much story they had left to tell. It was some convenient timing at different places, and the one thing that I missed on this one that I enjoyed on the first one was every time somebody was killed in a Holiday title card and the scene from the scene from the comic book that showed the murder weapon, the Holiday item of choice left there. Now they were there, but they did not focus on them at all like they did in the first. So that's one thing I did miss.
And I agree with.
I enjoyed it. It wasn't.
Go ahead. I agree with both of you.
I'm glad that James pointed that out. I'm glad that James pointed that out. Like it did make it feel like you were watching a totally different movie. At times, like I'm with James on this. Like the focus was on something else in this one. You know what I mean?
And that's what I feel like a lot of this movie. That's where I say like this movie starts in the middle of if you were doing a regular film, this is where you have your montage, which is what this movie starts with, and then it has its shift. But just watching it by itself, it feels odd because it goes into like almost like it goes into like this film almost feels like the whole thing's a third act or something. Because it goes into something, and it's more of the Harvey Dent story. Now, when we're able to watch this seamlessly as one movie, I'd be very curious to see if I feel that, or if it just feels like it just keeps going with the story and it makes more of that transition. But having that pause and then that reassemble, it definitely kind of takes, I think, away. Because the first film establishes, this is Holiday, So when we get here, we're at that point where we as the audience should have already understood that. And now we're going to start showing a little bit more. But it's weird because we start this film, like I said, we start it and it doesn't feel like it starts like a movie. It's like you pick up where we left off.
Yeah, which is, I mean, kind of what you could expect from a two-part film. You know what I mean? Like they could easily, and two-part films, other two-part movies have done it better, where you pick up and it feels like an opening to a new movie, but with the time constraints that they also have with these films, they kind of just got to drop it back in.
What's interesting, okay, just a little behind-the-scenes stuff that I learned. This film was written before Man of Tomorrow came out and was done. So he wrote this and then wrote Man of Tomorrow, and Man of Tomorrow got produced first.
When was the JSA movie made? In what order was the JSA movie written?
I don't know.
You know what I mean?
It's a different writer, so I don't know.
So, okay. So I feel like considering what happens in Long Halloween 2, I kind of feel like JSA or Long Halloween was written a little bit with JSA in mind. because you kind of got your origin story of the Flash in there a little bit, and then you have Man of Tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, I was just wondering what the order was of writing stuff. Oh no, carry on.
Well, I mean, at least, I mean, the one thing I am excited about is they keep making these films, these standalone films. They besides the animation style, they still look different because of the tone, and each one feels different because of the characters and the tone. Like Superman, Man of Tomorrow, and Justice Society. Plus, it was World War II and another universe. But I like how they're standalone completely, but they are acknowledging that it is part of a greater developing cinematic universe, animated.
I really like that. Like, I love it. Like, I think sometimes, I mean, as comic guys, we start reading one story and we're like, oh, well, now I got to go pick up these few comics so I get part of that story, And even though it's maybe Nightwing's story, oh, something else happened in Batman or something else happened in Batgirl, and you start to get that with movies now, with comic book movies, especially Marvel. Like, you have to watch this to understand this, and I think DC needs to stick with this. Like, have it standalone stories. Like, of course, we're going to have some Justice League stuff in the future, but I think it needs to be standalone so that people don't have to be like, oh, okay, I got to watch this, and this to understand this movie. Like, some people don't like other characters. Some people may just want to watch Batman, might want to just watch Superman. So I think they need to stick with it. I think it's working great. I think it's doing very well.
I mean, I like that there was the post-credit scene that we're alluding to where Alfred answers the door and it's Flash, and it's the same Flash that we met in Justice Society, and then it's the Green Arrow, which is cool because that shows that other characters are meeting off-screen that we don't know about. So, Brian, let's take it back to you real quick here. What did you not like about the end? You talked about, now we're getting into spoiled territory, the reveal. You said it's the gut punch that we could have got. What was off to you?
Well, I mean, in the first movie, and I think, I don't know if we talked about in the first movie review or I said it in conversation to you guys separate, but with what the heck's her name? Glinda? Yeah. So it was severely hinted at in that first movie that there was something with Alberto and Glinda. Or Glinda the witch, whatever. Mrs. Dent. So Gilda. Oh my gosh! All right, Mrs. Dent. It was hinted at that something happened between them, and the Roman took Gilda away from Alberto, and Alberto, she wasn't to be part of that family, and you have this whole story of Gilda lost her baby. Like, the Roman took her baby away from it. The Roman took that baby out of her and made her get an abortion and destroyed that whole life that she could have had with Alberto, and they could have been happy. And you have this awesome story of where Gilda married Harvey. She wanted to get back at the Roman. She wanted to bring him down because he took her baby, he took her child, he took her life. And you get to this climax of Two-Face with the Roman, and Harvey kills the Roman. You could have had the big reveal that Gilda was Holiday all along, which was never clear in the book. I mean, it was always hinted at. Like, you kind of thought maybe her and Harvey were doing, things together, and that probably happened in this movie. But you could have had this big, emotional, powerful reveal of Gilda holding that gun to the Roman's head as Holiday, and then Batman's there and Two-Face is there, and she shoots him, and because he took away everything that she wanted in life. Like, you see this story of her and Harvey, like they're not close. They're barely in love, if at all. She wants a family, and she'll never have that. And I feel like this opportunity for an amazing story for Gilda was just blown away. Was just tossed aside because you wanted to tell somewhat of a Two-Face story. But we know the Two-Face story. We know it. I mean, Two-Face deserves a great story. He does. But was this story really supposed to be about Two-Face, or is it supposed to be about the Holiday Killer and how Batman had to be a detective? And
well, I mean, it's always led to the creation of Two-Face.
Right. And I feel you got more of that in Dark Victory. You get more of that story there. And you get the story of Robin. But they took away that emotional punch, and then it leaves you hanging like, did she kill Alberto? And if she killed Alberto on that boat, like, where's that? I want to see that scene where she had to deal with killing the man she loved. Like,
but she didn't love him anymore. That was the point. Was she was done. Like,
she was numb to it, is what you're saying.
She was gone. Gilda was gone. And that's the big thing is, like, at this point in the story, and she says, like, she did love Harvey, but emotionally she had checked out, and she was upset because she married Harvey thinking that he would be the one to take down the Roman, that and all this. And first thing I want to say is Tim Sheridan talked about this. He said they wanted to pick a lane and stay in it of who Holiday is. He says in the book, it's written more ambiguous that, it's Gilda, probably Dent, and Alberto. But Alberto, it's mainly Gilda, but Alberto kind of takes the heat because he wants the power that comes with it.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
And for non-comic book fans and stuff like that, like, you want a little bit cleaner, straighter story. And, there's clues in it about Gilda. And would I have liked, like what you were describing at the end, would I have liked that? Yeah. But the subtlety that Harvey covers for her because he realizes it was her. And then Batman discovers it, but yet in the same way, she gets away with it. Because they can't prove it. Harvey takes the fall for it. Jim doesn't know. And it's, it stays closer to the book. Because would that have been too much of a departure from the book? Because even in this way, it's still a little bit of a departure, but it still stays pretty true to the book. What do you think?
I don't know. I mean, I think that when you kill, I think when you kill Alberto, you made the choice that you've changed the game.
Yeah,
this isn't going to be like the book. So like, I mean, if you're going to make the choice to kill Alberto, and you're going to make Gilda the clear-cut Holiday Killer, why not give me that emotional punch? Why not give me that emotional story?
I think because
why?
If you change too much, you get into trouble. And changing just Alberto and making him dead and not bringing him back up and letting it just be cleanly Gilda is a change, but not too much because she was also like one of the killers in the book. James, give us your opinion on the ending.
So, like, Gilda was one of the killers in the book. I think, the idea, like, revealing the story throughout, like, if they had revealed, Alberto and Gilda's relationship, and forced abortion, the forced marriage annulment, like, the horrible stuff that they did. They didn't even go into detail, but we know from the first one that they made her incapable of having children. So, like, they messed her up, and that was so. It's I'm fine with the fact that they killed Alberto. It has.
I agree.
It has to be Harvey.
That kill had to be Harvey.
Oh yeah, I totally agree that Harvey's the one that killed Alberto. I want to go back and watch it because Harvey killed Alberto, and of course he kills the Roman. Gilda's stuck at home because of the police.
Well, the reason he kills Alberto that night is like because of what she had said, like before, wishing he was somebody else.
Nice catch.
What
nice
they
catch.
said down in the town square when Joker attacked. So, as a cohesive story, I think that punch, building up to Gilda having that reveal and Harvey, like, I don't know. I don't feel much of a sense of loss with it not being Alberto. Honestly, I probably feel more sense of loss that the Riddler got shot around. The Riddler wasn't present, and got shot around and didn't get killed during April Fool's than the fact that Gilda is one of the killers.
No, I'm with you.
So that's our big loss.
I'm with you, James.
The one thing.
Go ahead, James.
The only time I feel that Alberto was a killer was the first one on Halloween, Beatty. Because if Gilda did it, she'd be ruining Harvey's work, Harvey's job, going after the Roman, and Alberto only has to gain from that by taking down somebody who's trying to rat out the family.
And see, I think it's one way when you read like a mystery book and you can be a little bit ambiguous, I think, in a comic. It's kind of a one we talked about, like Loeb writes really great stories, but in the end, they get a little convoluted and you're kind of left like talking to yourself, like who did what. And that's, I think, great sometimes for a book and sometimes for a film. But I think in this market with what they're doing, trying to make that into like an animation film, and they end it with a sense of who really was Holiday, who killed who, may be more detrimental to the film, the story, than just like I said, like Tim Sheridan said, they picked a killer and they stuck with it.
Yeah, and they didn't leave it to so ambiguous that it's like, as much as the book is like, well, then killed who? If Alberto was involved and Harvey and Gilda both killed who? Basically, they've almost spell it out for you as who in this as it all wraps up. The only one you could think that had to have been different would be Beatty because of who it protects.
Yeah, killing Alberto early, it does help the story, a little bit. It does help the story a little bit because you're not left guessing after he's killed who killed who. Exactly what you're saying. I'm not upset that it was Gilda. I think it needed to be Gilda really all along. I think Gilda being the killer is a better story.
Yes.
I am a little disappointed that we didn't get that emotional punch that we could have got.
See, I feel like we did. Like, you're building a completely different ending where Gilda would come out, reveal herself, because then that would be revealing herself to Batman, revealing herself to Jim Gordon. But the idea that, like, Batman had to figure it out himself.
And she got away with
Harvey
it.
figured it out.
I see what you're saying.
You know, and Harvey protected her by taking the fall.
Yeah, it's the idea. Yeah, the idea of who figured it out when is more because Harvey figured it out, Batman, and that's part of why he took the fall. When did the Roman figure out or decide who it was? When he hired the assassin to kill her on the
that's another thing. Do you
on
think
the docks,
Roman knew it was her
on the pier? Well, the assassin does say that he wasn't there to kill Harvey. He wanted to kill Harvey yet. And the timing that I had that I said is kind of the convenient timing that I brought up is Cat. She follows the assassin and she's just there in the nick of time on the pier, and then because she's following the Roman, she's there in the nick of time to help Batman.
The ending. Let's talk Catwoman for a minute. I really like this Catwoman. I like this portrayal. They made her more modern. They still gave her a little bit more anti-heroishness and playing both sides, but she was definitely leaning harder with Bruce. And I liked it. You know, it's kind of creating a good storyline for the future. Something a little bit newer that we haven't seen in these animated films.
I hate this Catwoman.
Really?
She revealed who Bruce was. I don't give a crap.
It's
care.
a mulligan. The guy's dead.
I like that she takes her mask off and the Roman looks at her and calls her by her name, her mother's name.
I love that scene. That's a great scene. It's a great scene.
Yeah, I love how they... So one thing that I really do like about what they've done here is they took the Long Halloween and they took other stories that are tangentially connected
When in Rome, yeah.
to like When in Rome, Catwoman, and crap, there's another one that I can't remember now. But anyways, the idea that they've connected that story to this, as well as seeded the future relationship, because it's not. They're telling a story. They're telling a story of all this comic book history that we already know. So they're kind of like leaving things in to it that weren't there necessarily. Like Selina's relationship at this time, there wasn't a relationship to be had. It was just kind of a game of cat and mouse. So just them being able to adapt so much history that we already have and put them as story to build a fuller universe, characters and relationships that that took years to get to.
Starting it here, we can already accept that there's a back history.
Build, yeah.
I do like they hit on a lot of the points in the book. Certain parts or beats were shuffled a little bit. They're a little moved around, but they were there. I think there's a little bit more Solomon Grundy in here than needed. I would have liked a little bit more Harvey becoming Two-Face. Like, I would like to see a scene of actual Harvey losing his stuff, but it was still really good, and I enjoyed it. Two-Face is one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Batman villain, and so I really liked that this story had more Two-Face in it, because I love the part where the two thugs have him and he's on the phone. He says he wants to talk to you, and he hands on the phone and then he shoots the guys. So I thought that was cool.
I think that this movies did the original story good justice. I thought it was done very well. I thought the outcome was well. I guess my only complaint is I wish we would have saw Riddler and the April Fool's thing, because I thought that was a nice part in the book that like the holiday didn't kill on April Fool's. So I thought that was kind of cool. But overall, I'm pretty satisfied with it. It didn't ruin the story like Hush did. Because we even talked about this. Like, I don't want the killer to be Harvey, and we were like, oh, what if it's Catwoman? What if Catwoman's the killer? And we were a little worried about that. But it told the story it needed to tell, and it didn't ruin it like the Hush movie did. So.
Yeah, they tried to subvert expectations a lot on Hush.
Right. They learned their lesson. Yeah, they absolutely.
This one, I think they learned. Yeah, I think they learned their lesson about changing it too drastic.
That's why I say, even reading Hush, you go to the end and the Riddler, he was involved in kind of pulling the strings on stuff, but it was so convoluted, and they did really well with keeping it clean.
Yeah. I love the art style change when Bruce was under the fear toxin. I like how Alfred is incredibly snarky with Harvey because he's being an a-hole at the mansion. Yeah.
Where he asks Gordon,
which one was that?
And Harvey, when is it? I'm paraphrasing now. When is it no longer the son's responsibility to pay for the sins of the father?
I absolutely love that line.
Yeah.
I love that line.
So Alfred.
They're talking down to Bruce.
Yeah,
about
Alfred nailed it
and what his dad did, and Alfred just jumps in there because of Thomas Wayne. That's how the Roman was legitimized. What did you guys think about the coin's origin?
So I see Bruce got it from Roman, and then didn't he give it to Harvey in the first one? Okay. See, I was vaguely remembering on it, so I mean the fact that Harvey can't make a decision without something that came from the guy he's been trying to bring down that he's hated for so long.
Mm-hmm.
That's iron.
I love that about Harvey. I think, man, I would love to see a movie that really gets more into Two-Face. In live action or something, where we get a movie, a full movie of good Harvey Dent. And then in the second one, you start to see the anger.
Yeah.
You start to see him having problems. Maybe even he has some sort of trauma where he starts having issues, like you said, making decisions and trying to choose a side, and really starts having problems. And then the big trauma of the face happens, and that's where he really snaps.
See, that's what I thought we were going to get with The Dark Knight. When Aaron Eckhart was cast as Harvey Dent in The Dark Knight, I thought we were going to get a whole movie with Aaron Eckhart as Harvey Dent, and then Two-Face would be the villain in the third movie. That's what I thought we were going to do. And then when that whole scene with him in the gasoline, I was like, oh, okay, they're pulling this trigger pretty early. Okay, but I'm with you.
Well, you know, I mean,
Absolutely.
his performance was fantastic, and he was a great Two-Face for the movie, but he was still not. But for the movie, he wouldn't work anywhere else. He's not a definitive Two-Face. You know, for him, he's still just Harvey Dent. It's just he believes in fair chance now. You know, it's the flip of the coin. You know, live or die. So it definitely is not the same Harvey Dent that we get here. It has some schizophrenia going on, split personality disorder, starting to feel itself, stress of the job and his marriage and these murders. And obviously, whatever murders he committed and whatever murders she committed, I mean, it had compounded his stress to why he was cracking. I think they did a really good job here, though. It was a very, very challenging story for Hart to go from being this district attorney who wants to take down organized crime to being Two-Face. Like, he fell, he cracked, he has two sides to his personality. So I think it's a very very well
Bryan
done.
Said earlier about companions. I just read Two-Face Year One, a 2-part book on DC Universe, Infinite, whatever it's called anymore. And that
Universe
was like a good
Infinite,
story
yeah.
that kind of went with it. You know, you see a little bit more of like the stuff that happened, like slightly off to the side during the events of the Long Halloween. And the other thing is, if you know, we all know that the Joaquin Phoenix Joker movie did a lot better than anyone ever thought it would. And if they were to do that with another character, I think Two-Face is the character I want to see. Like if they did another villain origin movie like that, I think Two-Face fits perfect in that mold.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that.
Just like what we've talked about, like you really get into Harvey, get into his psyche, get into, you know, his failing marriage, and like you could even do kind of a story similar to this, but all from Harvey's point of view. Like you really don't go on the ride with like a Batman or a Jim Gordon or whatever. It's just Harvey. I'll make it. I'll get on that.
Now, my question to you is, okay,
Mm-hmm.
how do you feel about Joaquin Phoenix going to be Pattinson's Joker?
Yeah. So real quick, no, that's we'll close
you know it's
with
going to
this.
happen. But
Bryan and I had this conversation. I even asked Jania about it too. Okay, I asked her the same questions that Bryan and I were talking about because we said I don't want to see another live action Joker. And you know, I said you could give me more Leto because he's already been established. And then Bryan said, you know, well, what if they rolled up Joaquin Phoenix Joker to be, you know, Pattinson's Joker?
no,
it's
it's not a what
okay
if. It's
that.
going to happen. It's not a what if.
I'm like,
it's
I'm
gonna
okay with that. I just don't want to see another new live action Joker for at least 15 years. You know, I mean, think about it. Within a short period of time, we had 3 different versions on Gotham: Leto, Joaquin. Okay, so even if you start, we'll say in 10 years from Heath Ledger's in 2008, and we jump to 2018. Okay, Joaquin came out in what, 19? So in 11 years, we had Heath Ledger's, 3 on Gotham, Joaquin, and Leto. And think how long we went from Jack Nicholson's before we even got to Ledger's. So it's just one of those things.
20 years.
I don't want
that was
this
19
new
years
take or whatever, and they just don't get a chance to really do it justice. Because I mean, I'm not even 100% like Joaquin's version is not completely right to me. Leto never really got to do his version of the Joker. That's on the cutting room floor. So I don't want these half-done versions. But at the same time, like I don't want to see another Batman movie where, the villain is the Joker.
Again and again and again.
I think that there's other characters that the new Pattinson version can, dig from. Thoughts real quick, James, and we'll wrap this up.
Well, it depends on depends on what they're doing, They're just taking Nolan's universe into an even grittier, realistic take almost. See how they blend realism and comic. I mean, I enjoyed Long Halloween Part. I actually can't wait to watch the whole thing, Part 1 and Part 2, and see how the story unfolds as a cohesive movie. Because like when you watch The Dark Knight Returns, it's almost a separate movie.
Yeah. When
it comes to Part 2, it's just really a sequel. You know what I mean? Like this is the same story that goes on, and the death and return of Superman.
Movie. You know what I'm saying? In a lot of ways, it's a Part 2, but it is a completely separate movie. Also.
It absolutely is, because it tells a whole different chapter, but it does flow a little more, I think, from one movie to the next. I don't know. It feels like this is the same story. It's not a movie that had what seemed to be an ending, and the story's not over.
And the sequel
the other.
The sequel of the book is Dark Victory, and even the writer said when they were writing the Long Halloween that they were instructed, don't think of Dark Victory, write the Long Halloween. So I'm sure there's a way to write around it. I need to reread Dark Victory in detail and think like that, but I feel like in a lot of ways this movie set up the themes to carry into Dark Victory about Batman working alone, and Catwoman saying like he could use a partner or whatever. So
I would say you need to give me you need to give me 2 more Batman animated films before you do Dark Victory, because I want to see this Batman alone before you bring in Robin. Like we need just a little bit of this Batman. But in saying that, I really want to see the Bat Family. But I want to see the Bat Family more live action. Together.
Like we have every member of the Bat Family in live action somewhere in some
Never
version,
together.
But I want to see them together.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I feel with this universe that they're making, they're kind of getting like it seems like they're getting kind of on the ground floor with most of the characters so far, at least. So we get Superman at the beginning, we get Batman at the beginning. It's like year 2, learning that he's going to have to be a better detective than he thought he would ever have to be, and to continue his story as it were to evolve with the Bat Family, like wouldn't be able to waste much time by having more than 2 solo films before the family starts. I honestly think that from this one they would start going with Robin next one, and then maybe even a time jump, and then they get the second Robin.
That makes sense.
Death of the Family.
All right. Well, we're going to put a pin in it there, and maybe we'll revisit the subject for sure when hopefully they'll release, the collected as one film soon instead of waiting so long. We can revisit it, and plus we have that special in October Long Halloween book. James, Bryan, thanks for the chat. You can find their info in the notes below. Hook them up on Twitter. Leave your comments. Let us know what you're thinking. And remember,
look up in the sky.
Hello, everybody. I just want to let you know that Southgate Media Group has its own Patreon. That's right. For $5 a month, you can get exclusive shows, content, and interviews with the different podcasters of the network. This Week in Geek is a Patreon exclusive only series. So check it out. Go www.patreon.com/Southgate Media Group. We are always adding new content. If you want to help out this show and any other show on Southgate Media Group and you really don't have the extra money to do so, check this out. Go to southgatemediagroup.com. At the top, there's a link to Amazon. Click that, log into your Amazon, shop and buy like normal, and part of the money that you spend comes back to us to help us with our podcasts. The Krypton Report is part of the Southgate Media Group network of podcasts. If you have an interest, check out Southgate Media Group to see if your podcast is there. I bet it is. At the Southgate Media Group website, you can sign up for our newsletter. You'll get info on all the shows, and you can find what you want. You'll also find links to our sponsors where you can get great products and support the podcast. Also, our book, Pod Life, Podcasting Stories. It's a great book. Check it out. It's nice to hear where people come from and why they do what they do. If you're like me and you love listening to different podcasts about Superman, I have a few that I want you to check out. Some of my favorites are The Last Sons of Krypton. Connor and Ray are always reviewing different books, and it's really nice and refreshing to kind of dig back into older stuff. The Aspiring Kryptonian, Tasman and her team are always finding interesting people to interview. Digging for Kryptonite has become one of my favorite ones to listen to, as Anthony digs into different eras of the character. There's always the Always Hold On to Smallville, which I've guested on before, if you're wanting to step back into that nostalgia realm. So check out all these, and there are many, many more. So check out our Twitter, because we're constantly finding new podcasts that inspire and bring hope to everyone.